Good morning. This altar that's behind me is so powerful for me. Our altars are always, I should say, really very beautiful, and they move different ones of us in different ways. But when I walked out here this morning, a story came to mind that I had no intention of telling, but it's so perfect for this question, this reading today. How should we meet our tests? In the Mahabharata, the Indian epic that people in India sort of grow up on, I always say it's like pablum to little Indian kids. They're soothed with it, and the stories from it, like we are with pablum here when we're babies. There's a story of a woman, Kunti Devi, who is the mother of 3 of the Pandava brothers. For those of you who don't know, those are the good guys in the story. But through a whole series of tests and literally a throw of the dice, and it's not important to go into it, but they're banished to the forest for many years. And of course, their mother is in great agony about this, and she's suffering. She misses her sons. She doesn't know what's going on with them. And so she begins to pray to Krishna. And she just over and over and over throughout the day calls Krishna's name, bows in front of pictures of him, until over time she feels her suffering lifting. And in fact, she's in a state of sustained and profound joy. And Krishna, who then is very pleased with the road that she has taken, appears to her, and he says to her, "What boon can I give you? You have done so well praying to me all the time and turning to me. What can I give you?" And she looks at him and she says to him, "My Lord, please just give me more suffering." She said, "Because through my suffering, I have found you." And it's just, that story was not here to be told today, but it's so powerful when you look at this altar and this river of gold coming from Krishna. And really, that story is the essence of the writing here. Swami Kriyananda was once asked, why are there not more people choosing to move towards a spiritual path? And he said, they don't suffer enough. They haven't suffered enough yet, is what he said. Kabir was touching on this last week, and it follows those words of Yogananda when he says, all situations in life are neutral. It's how we respond to them that determines where we will go spiritually, how sad we'll be, how much we suffer, or how much joy we know. So Swami Kriyananda is saying they haven't suffered enough yet. Paramhansa Yogananda himself said that for most people, a life without suffering is a wasted life. Those were his exact words. Because in that suffering, in order to overcome it, it's often the incentive that we have to grow and to expand. And this is really what our tests are. Tests are literally that which comes to us, those moments that come to us that just stop us dead in our tracks. It just stops us. And it stops us so that we can look at our delusion, look at our attitudes, and ask ourselves, how am I going to overcome this? So there's always a great gift. Now, it's not only in suffering, because the truth is everything that comes to us in life, everything It's like a divine life plan for us. That's exactly what it is. And if every time something came to us that was painful or difficult, we just said, oh, look at this. Look at the plans that were drawn for me, specifically for me. How am I going to use them? How am I going to expand and grow spiritually? We just, this past Thursday, had our first class of our Raja Yoga course. Raja Yoga means royal yoga, for those of you who might not know. And unlike how so many people in the West think of yoga as hatha yoga, I'm looking out into the room and I'm seeing even a couple of new people who just came here for the first time for Raja Yoga. So bear with me while I reflect on some of what I said to you on Thursday, because it's so important here. It's so really important for all of us, even those of us who have been here for decades. In this first chapter of Raja Yoga, and as I was saying, yoga really means, it means union with the divine. So yoga speaks to not just hatha yoga or postures, which are actually can be very important and very meaningful, but it's a way of life, in essence, is what it is. And Swami Kriyananda wrote 14 Steps to Perfect Joy, 14 Steps to Higher Awareness, which has become the art and science of Raja Yoga. And we now take that book and we teach it in 16 classes. And the first chapter of the book is so powerful. Swami Kriyananda, I think it's 3 or 4 pages long. This is just the utter brilliance in this book and showing us what someone whose awareness is such, who moves with such clarity, can convey what he has conveyed in the first chapter, which really outlines our entire spiritual path. And it shows us in this very first chapter as a beginning to what will come, because then in Raja Yoga we dive deeper and deeper into each of these topics. But Swamiji says, this is how you overcome all delusion. In essence, in the first chapter and then throughout the book, just in the most beautiful way, he says, this is how you overcome all tests in life. And he walks us through it. And one of the most important things that he speaks to in that first chapter is how to listen with our heart. He begins to say to many people who have never heard these teachings at all, not a word of them. And when I was teaching on Thursday night, I was looking out. I don't know how many new people we had in the room. I'm going to guess maybe 14 or 16 or 18. I'm not really sure. It doesn't matter. And at least they were new to us. These could be people who have studied yoga for lifetimes, for all I know, but they were new here. But also in the room were people who were mentoring the class, so they've taken it all before, all of the faculty, and several of the people from the community who just wanted to come and sit in. And as I was giving this talk, trying to sort of gently, but with great clarity, begin to welcome everyone to a whole new way of thinking about life, to a whole new way of approaching life. Remember, I've said to you in this very first chapter, Swamiji says, in order to move forward and learn these lessons will require a complete revolution of the way you think about life. He just puts it out there. So I'm giving this talk trying to describe what they're going to hear. For an hour from 8 to 9 p.m. on a Thursday, nobody slept. Nobody was dozing off. But what I noticed was that all of the people, the faculty, the people who came from the community were all like, yes, yes, yes. And all of the new people were absorbing it, or at least most of them. But you could see what it meant to have one's mind blown. It was just watching it there, because that is where we all start. You know, Krishna says, out of 1,000, one will seek me. This is what he says. And I can understand exactly why. We are so used to operating within the confines of everything that we've been taught until now. There is so much in the world that is supporting us to approach every challenge, every new situation with whatever sum of knowledge we have until that point. And all of a sudden, we're being asked to turn around 180 degrees to hear things like, nothing in this world can harm you. Nothing can take your happiness away. Everything you need to achieve all of what you want is already inside of you. All of the joy, all of the happiness, all of the wisdom, it's already there. Well, if you haven't heard that before, you think to yourself, what are they talking about? That nothing that happens in life can make me unhappy or have this huge impact that I can't overcome? It just simply makes no sense. And when we think about it, that we have lived millions of lifetimes to get where we are. So we have learned a huge amount about how to go through life. And the most important part in that is that everything we've learned has served us, even if it looks crazy now, or we look at people who are killing people, or who are stealing, or telling lies, or being bad in business. We've all been there. And that may be for them exactly what they need to grow. So we come right to the moment in time that we are. And we are a product of all of these past lives. Swamiji alluded to it here when he spoke about the gunas. We mostly start out pretty tamasic, dull, lazy. Well, if you add a little bit of rajas to that, which those of us who would rather be sattvic think of rajas as restlessness, we don't want to be restless. Who wants to be restless? But if you've been dull and lazy and you bring in a little bit of restlessness, at least you're awakening energy that you can then transform and grow with. So it's very complicated to come to that moment where somebody is saying, I'm going to really blow your mind right now. I'm going to show you a whole other way of looking at things. And listen to me, this is what's going to bring you joy. This is how you're going to face your tests right now. I shared a story in Raja Yoga because it had just happened the day before, and I'll shorten it, but I was working a medical clinic, and a young woman walked in, and she had a rash. And it was a very mild rash, but she walked in 20 minutes late, so I was a little agitated, and she was very agitated. As soon as I realized that she won in the agitation department, I calmed down. But she was coming in telling me on whatever day it was, I have to get rid of this rash. You have to get this rash off of me. You have to give me something like this. You have to do something. I said, well, I'll try. I mean, it was a little threatening. And rashes, by the way, are really challenging. They don't usually go away in 2 or 3 days. But she was getting married yesterday. She was getting married on Saturday, and she assured me that her entire rash was going to be exposed and it needed to go away. Anyway, we talked. I calmed down. I spent close to a half hour with her. And at the end of the visit, I said to her, let me just offer you one thing. We had taken pictures of it. We had emailed them to dermatology. I'd given her prescriptions. I was giving her what she wanted. But I said to her, you know, you're about to have the most important day of your life, or one of them. I said, we like to think of this as a once-in-a-lifetime moment. And I said, it might serve you, I was trying to be very gentle, if you could tell yourself, we'll do the best we can, but whatever it is, you're getting married. People are coming to celebrate that. It's a joyful, uplifted moment. You should have fun. You should let your heart open. She looks at me and she goes, oh, easy for you to say. And she says to me, I have so many more craft things to make and things to do to get ready. I said, I tried one more time. This is true. I said, I know. It's a lot. I said, I've watched so many people get married. I said, I've performed marriages. I know. You have a lot of people coming. I said, but you know what? They're going to have a lot of fun no matter what. They're going to love being at your wedding. You will probably be the only one who notices your rash. And even if the crafts don't get done, once again, she said, you just don't understand. Well, you know, it was a challenging moment, but as I walked out of the room, I said to myself, that's not so different from how many of us live. Because when we come up against that test that is hard for us, I know I would not be upset if I wasn't quite ready for my marriage. I know I mentioned once in a lifetime, but I've been there twice. And I just didn't get upset about those things. Easy for me to say. She was actually right. It's not my karma. And that's why I said before, what comes to us is a divine master plan for each of us so that we can overcome, take our next step, and not say, oh, easy for you to say, when wisdom comes to us. This is what we say every Sunday. And even when wisdom came to us, we didn't change our plan. We didn't see the light. Even repeatedly, we say, when we lost everything we had, meaning our joy, our connection to the divine, even as we watch it going with our upset. This is what happens. And we're all going to run into a rash at the wedding scenario. We will. And we have to be ready to not say those words, but to say rather, wow, look at this. Look at the opportunity I'm being given. And we never can see the whole picture. That also is part of the divine plan. We see what we see. We are blinded to the rest of it. There was a wonderful devotee of Masters, a woman, and she had cancer and she had a big surgery. And when she came out of anesthesia, she was in a lot of pain and she thought she was going to die. And she started praying to Master, and she said to Master, I'm not afraid to die, but I do not want to die in this negative state of consciousness. I don't want that to happen. You have to help me. Like caught in pain and fear. She didn't want to leave that way. And within minutes of her prayers, Master came to her and he said to her, it's all about gratitude. That is, recognizing this is for you, recognizing this is God Himself coming to you to give you the perfect opportunity to grow, no matter what. No matter what, the perfect opportunity. So she started practicing it. They put a tube into her stomach. She started saying she was grateful for it. They started IVs. They did procedure after procedure. She was in pain. She started saying, I am grateful for the pain master because you told me it will bring me closer to you. And the way the story's told, it says within a few hours. Well, may we all have that experience, that just within a few hours of a practice, that we come to where she got to, where she was literally floating in joy and feeling nothing but the connection with Yogananda. And the story says that she brought so much peace and calmness and ease to all of the nurses and all of the doctors, that she had this impact on everyone around her. Of course she would. That's what I was trying to do with this woman. I knew I wasn't probably going to make her a yogi in 1 minute, but I thought, let me try and allow her to feel the calmness with which I can reflect this situation. Maybe if she feels the calmness, because we are talking about our soul's experience, not our mind's experience. We are talking about facing our tests by moving from ego consciousness to soul consciousness, even from human great potential to divine perfection. That's what we're looking for, and our souls know it, and they are called. I'll share one other short story with you. On Thursday, before the class started, a woman came up. She could be in this room right now, I'm not sure. I don't see her, but she could be. She came with her mother, and she was very distraught. She said to me, is the temple here? I said, yeah. Is it open? I said, well, we're actually just starting a class. We had 25 people doing Hatha Yoga in here. And I said, can I help you? And this woman looks at me right in the eye, and she says to me, I've had so much hardship in my life right now. And she was like this. She said, I'm looking for serenity. Those were her words. Her mother was there. Her mother spoke very little English. Her English was not perfect. So I said to her, well, you've come to the right place, but you just can't go into the temple right now. We talked a little bit about whether she should come to Raja Yoga, but I felt this would be better for her. But I didn't try and say any words to her. I didn't try and tell her what serenity meant. I didn't try and say to her, your soul is being unequivocally drawn to the light. Listen to it. Get out of your mind. This is what's in that first chapter of Raja Yoga. You want to face your tests in a way that you will grow spiritually and have an experience of the divine. Then you have to do the things your soul wants you to do. Just get drawn to the temple and go. Love more, serve more, pray more, meditate more. Meditation is the science of the art and science of Raja Yoga. It's in meditation that that bridge gets made from the ego to the heart center, to the spiritual center only. It's in meditation that we have that experience of the divine in us, that we learn to solve problems from our heart, to listen with our heart, not with our mind. The ego will never bring us joy. It brings us repeated suffering. The soul that brought that woman in here with those words, I'm amazed. Of all the words, who of us would walk up and say, I'm looking for serenity? Right? Look at me. I'm looking for serenity. Her soul knew. And that's what we all need to do. We need to listen to that soul call. I was immediately reminded of the song. You all know I forget the words of every song when I'm up here. But the line in the master's poem, God, 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 when boisterous storms of trials shriek. Isn't that amazing? Boisterous storms of trials shriek. What does Master keep coming back to? Verse after verse. God, God, God. There is no other way to face our tests and pass them. Otherwise, nor did we learn, even when wisdom came to us, and repeatedly we lost everything we had. Now is the moment. Here we are. We've been awakened. We've been drawn here. We walked into the temple. We know what we're looking for. Let's make this the incarnation that really counts. It's absolutely doable. All we need to do is open our hearts. God bless you all.